impressive roles and his many accomplishments.
James Gandolfini.
Private, reserved, and painfully shy, James Gandolfini granted one of his only in-depth interviews to Inside the Actors Studio in 2004.
Where were you born?
Westwood, New Jersey.
What are your parents' names?
Santa and James.
And where were they born?
My father was born in Italy, in a place called Borgataro, and then when he was 2 or 3, he came here. My mother was born in America and moved back to Italy when she was 6 months old, and then came back when she was about 20.
Perhaps because of his own ties to the Actors Studio, having studied there himself, Gandolfini opened up in the interview, revealing a rare look at his early years.
Were you a well-behaved kid?
Up to a point.
What point?
High school.
Gandolfini capped his teen angst years, earning a bachelor's degree in communications from Rutgers in 1983. Then he went to New York City to manage a bar.
The club was straight 2 nights a week, gay 2 nights a week, and kind of everything else 2 nights a week. So I spent a few years just watching people, just in amazement, and saw a lot of interesting things that I stored up for later.
Encouraged by a college friend and nightclub regular, Gandolfini attended his first acting class.
It was a Meisner technique class. I went in and I was scared to death. I was shaking.
Terrified, but fascinated and determined, Gandolfini would spend the better part of the next decade mastering his craft until finally catching a break in 1992 on Broadway.
I auditioned for the role of Steve in Streetcar Named Desire with Jessica Lange and Alec Baldwin.
A few more theater roles would follow before director Sidney Lumet gave the 30-year-old actor his first major movie role in A Stranger Among Us. Following several smaller roles in Mr. Wonderful, Money for Nothing, and opposite Brad Pitt in Quentin Tarantino's True Romance.
Yeah, well, maybe you can help me. I'm looking for a friend of mine.
Gandolfini's career really gained momentum in the mid-90s, playing Gina Davis's boyfriend in Angie.
We're getting married and you can't go out with me no more?
One of the heavies in Terminal Velocity.
Oh, that's very good. That's very funny.
And a series of big-budget features like Crimson Tide, The Juror, Night Falls on Manhattan, She's So Lovely, Fallen, and several co-starring John Travolta, including A Civil Action and Get Shorty.
I think you ought to turn around and go back to Miami.
But it wasn't the big screen where the Italian-American Jersey family man would find the role he was born to play. In his late 30s, Gandolfini landed the role that would make him a star, New Jersey mob boss Tony Soprano.
You all right?
My leg's broken, the bone's coming through.
Oh, you prick! Where's my money?
He never expected to get the part, as he told Inside the Actors Studio.
I got the script and I remember reading it and I was laughing out loud. And I said, there's no way I will be able to do this. I really thought that they would pick someone, different than I.
How different? In what way?
A suave, good-looking mafioso guy. Just somebody a little more leading man type, basically.
He may not have considered himself leading man material, but from the first episode of The Sopranos, he was an undeniably compelling screen presence. His Tony Soprano was part family man.
Dad.
Vulnerable at times, at least in his sessions with his therapist, Dr. Melfi.
You always talk about him more like a son.
In some ways he was.
A man of strong appetites, sexual and otherwise.
You got time for lunch?
You are my lunch.
And an unapologetic mobster with an explosive temper.
Tony, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just having some bad luck.
Yeah. Just got worse. Oh, Mr. Spot.
Shortly after the show debuted in 1999, series creator David Chase spoke to CNN about his leading man.
We have a great cast, and of that cast, James Gandolfini is really important to the equation. I think, he's playing a mob boss, a killer, and a tough guy, and I think if you didn't have someone playing that role who also could elicit feelings of empathy and sympathy and even pity, I think we wouldn't have the show we have.
Some of Gandolfini's finest acting came in scenes with Edie Falco, who played his wife, Carmela. Their marriage featured regular betrayals and titanic fights.
Allow me.
And moments of surprising tenderness.
To my husband, you're not just a funny, smart, lovable, good-looking guy. You're mine. Thank you, baby.
Oh, happy birthday.
Falco spoke of her co-star in glowing terms.
I work most often with Jim Gandolfini, who was so easy to be married to and to feel like was family with me. It was just so easy to feel we had this long history together, and love acting with him. It's like acting with him is like when you're a kid and you're playing, you know, house or something. You know, it felt very ungrown up. It felt very unactory. We were just pretending, you know, and it just felt as real as anything has. So it was an absolute joy.
Finish telling me about the day you collapsed.
Lorraine Bracco played Tony Soprano's psychiatrist, Dr. Melfi.
Great actor.
Nothing.
And when you work with someone who is better than you, you have to rise to the occasion. You either fall to the side or you rise to the occasion. And
Hey, I'm serious.
I guess when we just sit in those chairs, I kind of rise to the occasion. He's a brilliant actor to watch.
All right.
He really is.
That brilliance earned the actor multiple honors.
Hi. Thanks.
He won a trio of Emmys, 3 Screen Actors Guild Awards, and a Golden Globe for his work on the show. After accepting his first Emmy in 2000, he spoke to the media backstage.
I was very surprised. I was shocked.
On that occasion, he offered his own thoughts on Tony Soprano.
He tries to do the right thing and screws everything up by doing that. It's kind of like a Ralph Cramden kind of honeymooners kind of thing. It's a little more dangerous.
In 2003, Gandolfini threatened to leave the series in a salary dispute. HBO sued him for breach of contract, but eventually the matter was settled, with Gandolfini reportedly doubling his salary to $800,000 an episode.
Just a small town girl.
Hey.
Gandolfini starred in all 86 episodes of The Sopranos over the course of 6 seasons. The run ended in June 2007 with an enigmatic cliffhanger.
I went ahead and ordered something for the table.
Viewers were left wondering if Tony Soprano lived or died. The conclusion of The Sopranos was not just the end of an industry-changing television phenomenon. It also allowed Gandolfini to take his career in new directions.
He respected the craft of acting, immensely. He took it very seriously.
Now in his 40s, he was free to take on non-tough guy characters, branching out from his iconic portrayal of Tony Soprano. Most were supporting roles like 2009's The Taking of Pelham 123. Where the Wild Things Are, a movie based on the classic children's book.
You're the king. And look at me. I'm big.
True to his theater roots, he returned to the stage in the Broadway comedy God of Carnage.
Go on, go.
Starring alongside Jeff Daniels, Marcia Gay Harden, and Hope Davis, Gandolfini played a frumpy businessman, earning him a Tony nomination. The show itself won a Tony for Best Play of 2009. Last year, he took on a commanding yet small part as the CIA director in Zero Dark 30.
All right, I want to know more about who's inside this house by the end of the week.
Anytime there was a role that needed this gravitas or some kind of a sense of a little bit of menace maybe and a little authority, he was a good guy to play that.
Everyone I've talked to knows the exact date when they've been hit.
The same year The Sopranos ended, Gandolfini stepped behind the lens as executive producer, again for HBO, with Alive Day Memories, Home from Iraq, a documentary where veterans opened up about their graphic war experiences. His interest in vets went beyond the documentary. In 2010, he traveled with other actors from The Sopranos to Afghanistan on a USO tour.
It's an honor to meet you. Thank you.
He then earned a Prism Award in 2011 for War Torn, 1861 to 2010, a documentary that examined post-traumatic stress disorder, especially among soldiers.
This was something that was definitely a passion project of his, and I know in his own small community, he knew people that were involved in the military, and I think this was his way of drawing attention to it.
I see a role model.
Continuing his long relationship with HBO, Gandolfini teamed up with the network in 2010, this time as Craig Gilbert in Cinema Verite. Long gone was the mafia persona. Instead, he played a bearded documentary filmmaker following the Loud family in a story about America's first reality TV show. At the time of his death, Gandolfini was preparing to star in an HBO series called Criminal Justice. The fate of that show is now unclear. Fiercely private, Gandolfini was known to skirt questions about his family life.
He never felt prey to the trappings of celebrity. He was never interested in that. He didn't want to do the fame game.
He leaves behind 2 children, a teenage son from his first marriage and a daughter born in October to his second wife, Deborah Lynn. The couple married in Hawaii in 2008. Dead at just 51, a life and an acting career cut short. Some had hoped to see Tony Soprano again on the big screen. And although he was known to shy away from the spotlight, he opened up in an interview with Inside the Actors Studio, answering whimsically when asked about the end of his life.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Take over for a while. I'll be right back. No.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
No.
You dare not change it. It's too good. It's too good.
Think of the possibilities.
All right, let's check on some other top stories this